Okay, day 205, part one. So sometimes I usually go to the slides, that's where I'm best, but there's late breaking stories and so forth that happen, and occasionally I'll do this as a proof of life as well. So there's this police detective named Wheeler. He's been hired by the Seth Rich's parents, and he's looking into the murder. They're reopening the investigation of the murder finally. And what they have found is they've found the laptop, and apparently on the laptop there's going to be evidence that he tried to contact WikiLeaks, send information at WikiLeaks. And there's some Julian Assange emails that talk about gigabytes. And then there's some Julian Assange faux pas where he kind of hesitates when he talks about Seth Rich being a source. So there's smoke, maybe not fire, but there's smoke with the connection between Seth Rich and WikiLeaks. You can check out my video on day 171.6, 7, 8, 9, I think. I did a lot in Washington, D.C. that day, but I actually went to the site where he was supposedly shot. I looked across the street at the convenience store, so I looked across over to the nearest hospital, across McMillan Reservoir there. I think that's, I can't remember the name of it. It's not McCabe, it's Mc something, McStep or something. But it's a very close hospital. And then I just said, look, I mean, if this is a political killing, and there's a chance that it is because of the robbery and they didn't take anything and so forth, and if he did give the information, Podesta had said we need to make an example and all these types of emails. So all I did was just say, if it is a political killing, what metadata would you look for? And this is what I go back to over and over again, is collecting the metadata. Just release the metadata. If you have nothing to hide, if law enforcement has nothing to hide, then just release the metadata. The first piece is going to be, again, the phones. We're going to go, I don't know if you used a BlackBerry or not, but again, the phones. And I want to see John Podesta's BlackBerry now. I want to see McCabe's BlackBerry and the Awan's BlackBerries leading up to the leak of WikiLeaks and up through the murder. I just want to see the BlackBerries, the communication. I want to see communication between Podesta and SEIU and so forth. Now people say, okay, that's private communication. Okay, fine. Well, how about Seth Rich's phone? Because Seth Rich's phone is going to have his GPS. It's going to say where he was from 2 to 4:20. He leaves the bar at 2 o'clock, and he doesn't. The shots aren't heard. The two shots aren't heard until 4:20. So what happened between there? Release the phone, release all the metadata of the phone that night. Again, why wouldn't the police do that if they're really trying to catch the criminals? When things happen like Mike Chernovich gives $20,000 reward offer, and Julian Assange gives $20,000, if you see on the tape, I think it's 171.8 or 9, I offer to match it as well, and that offer still stands if we get the killer. And then Hillary doesn't go down to that corner and protest gun violence in the nation's capital. Debbie Wasserman doesn't go down to that corner, and neither one of them decide to match the 20,000. So this is a political enemy of Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a person who's made themselves a political enemy and a political enemy of Hillary Clinton. So everyone says, well, why do you bring the Awans into this? Well, the Awans have a company called Awan Brothers Inc. Now, if it's not their company, they're welcome to step forward and say, that's not my company. But the registered agent is a guy named Arshaf Mahmoud. And Arshaf Mahmoud, a registered agent of the company, I didn't make him the registered agent. They did. He goes down to Richmond, Virginia, and kills a very critical guy in the Virginia mosque. Now, if you watch the series, you notice how I say that the mosques, I believe, are money laundering, and the car dealerships are kind of like the intermediate or the retail money laundering, and the wholesale money laundering is going through the mosques to take it overseas to Malaysia, I believe, to Fetagunlan's accounts. But we'll leave that aside. You have to watch the series to understand that part. But so people say, oh, well, why did you go to the Pakistan embassy? Why did you go to Embassy Row? Well, to reinforce the fact that Mahmoud probably has a passport of some type, and I'm guessing it's a diplomatic passport. How did he get out of the country with a guy who looks like Arshaf Mahmoud? And again, I go on the Luca Brasi principle. You don't have lots and lots of hitmen all over the place. You call Luca Brasi when you have a problem. who does Podesta call? I think he's going to call Luca Brasi. Again, it's a Pakistani ISI guy, so I use the liaison loophole. I don't have to report it to Congress. It's a liaison operation. No finding is necessary. I don't need to talk to the president. I don't need to talk to the Gang of Eight. I just do the operation. And now McCabe does the front end. He does the deep dive on Seth Rich and finds out all the people he talked to. I still believe that it's not just going to be email. It's not just going to be email to WikiLeaks. Lots of people email stuff to WikiLeaks. It's going to be the phone call to Jones in London. Ratner, the attorney for WikiLeaks, dies in New York in April sometime, maybe March. Now that's the one I think Braverman went to. But Seth Rich, his only recourse now is to talk through Murray, the British ambassador, to Jones, to get the thumb drive to Jones. So that's why I'm saying there's got to be an NSA phone call to Jones, because they would have to fear him going to the media. They really don't care about YouTube or any of this other stuff. What they fear is the NBC interview or the CBS interview or whatever, whoever, RT interview even. So that's my theory there. And knowing that the NSA all along the way didn't play ball with Hillary on her phone, I'm saying it's a likely source of a leak there. Now I also think the NGA has NSA data, and there's two NGA leakers still out there with Devin Nunes, but that hasn't come forward yet, so I'll just leave that alone. But so I'm just going through the metadata. I don't have inside knowledge on the case. I've never said I did. All I said was it's usually the nurse anesthetist. You don't have to be a doctor. It's a nurse anesthetist. Oh, it's a mistake. Whoops, I did it again. Between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. Usually a trainee from another hospital, usually somebody on rotation, something like that. Or, the SEIU janitor that really is an Arkansider with a C, working off their dirty dozen so they can get their freedom. So is there such a thing as an Arkansider? If you don't think there is, then that's fine. You can look at Veritas's tapes and listen to the guy who went to the White House 400 times. I can't remember his name right now, talking about it, about how he hired him. Or you can say that doesn't exist. I don't. If people don't want to be a part of the investigation, that's not my problem. If they do want to be a part of it, that's great. If they think that they have a better working theory, that's fine. I talk about the propofol interviews. Propofol is a way of, you don't remember the interview and you give up everything. It's the ultimate truth serum, right? Well, people say, oh, that's loony, whatever. Well, again, you can think MK Ultra was about, shocking hamsters, or you can think it was about developing the ultimate truth serum. I tend to believe the director of the CIA when they talk about things like this, or other people that were in the CIA that talk about propofol interviews. So do I think Seth Rich, do I think an intelligent intelligence officer would let Seth Rich die without finding out who he talked to so I could go run down those rat lines? No. They're going to have from 2 a.m. to 4:20. I don't know how they do the extraction. There's a million different ways. But they're going to interview him, and they're going to find out who it is. And I still say it's Jones. Jones is pushed in front of a train in August. Usually people die related to other things. They don't just die because somebody decided to push somebody off a platform into a train. Same thing with the Eric Braverman thing. Everyone got on me for the bombing the night of September 15th in Chelsea, and he was eating close by there. The reason why I was trying to time correlate that was, does Eric Braverman know where he was the night of September 15th? Now, usually, again, overseas, it wouldn't happen in America, but you would set off a bomb 2 or 3 blocks away, sometimes 2 bombs, and then everybody rushes toward that, and then you drug the guy, you gas the house, you go and drug the guy, you wrap him in carpet, or there's a million different ways, usually through the basement, and you take off. You don't want your operatives on film like the 2 Egyptian guys. That's why I went to that site, so people could see the place on 27th Street exactly where the Egyptian guys were. Again, they had the bag with the pressure cookers with them before they left the hotel. And then their story was they found it on the street. So typically you would investigate something like that. NYPD, nothing. So I'm just holding people to a logical account, analyzing the metadata, and we'll see what happens with Fox later today.